I will dispense with introductions since they've already been made, and go directly to the sessions and how we're going to conduct this. Each speaker is given 15 minutes for this presentation. We'll then have a 15-minute discussion among ourselves based on questions that I will pose, and then open the discussion to the floor for about 25 minutes or so. If there are no questions, then you have an early lunch. Unlike many of the other sessions, this session comprises practitioners, people who are in the business, sitting between regulators and businessmen. This morning you must have heard of the fourth generation industrial revolution. Just to make sure that we underscore the most important parts of it. First generation was all about the steam engine and its effect on industrial manufacturing. Second generation was about mass production. Third generation was about the information revolution. The fourth generation brings together information with technology and our lifestyles as well as biology. So we'll see a convergence of all four of these areas. And we will be moving very quickly into new applications, new products, new technologies. And this is happening as we speak. The term became popular after the Davos conference in 2016. The convener has written a book on this area, and I'd like you to bear that in mind, because part of the disruption that we're talking about is in relation to the fourth generation industrial revolution. Second concept I'd like to for you to keep in mind is the word disruptive itself. Now, Clayton Christensen, who is a professor of business in Harvard, he left his MBA 1 year before I came, so we miss each other. Clay wrote a book in 1997 on the innovator's dilemma. In the event you have not read the book, I would seriously suggest you take a look at the many talks he has on YouTube, where he tries to explain how this concept has evolved over the years, and it's become a very interesting concept to predict change. Now, three things I take away from it. One, as we have disruptive change, things that were very expensive and very sophisticated become more widely used as it becomes simpler. I'll take the case of computers. When I was a student in UM, we had one computer serving 7,000 students. 16K words, which is 32K bytes. And now today, of course, your handphones go into gigabytes of memory. We had punch cards. You drop those cards, you're in trouble. Right? Today, we've gone from mainframe computers of that sort to mini computers, to notebooks, and now to mobile phones. And each time around, more and more and more people use them. So that's one effect of disruptive innovation. But in the same process, time is getting shorter, and we adopt these developments sooner. So do bear these two concepts in mind as we go through the slides this morning. And at this point in time, let me hand it over to Brian to make his presentation.
All right. Okay, I was just telling one of the panelists just now that I feel humble in the presence of many distinguished academicians. And just now we heard also from Mr. Goh about the theory of symmetry and capacity and all. So yeah, I'm in the presence of pretty highly intellectual people here. So let me give you a bit of background myself. I'm also from MU, but not University Malaya. I studied at Monash University. Okay, so that's MU as well, right? And I studied accounting, and later on you'll see, my involvement in MIA and CPA Australia. But I started off as an auditor. Then I went on to investment banking, and then subsequently to venture capital investments. And that's how I got myself involved in the tech industry. So it wasn't by design, because I was kind of bored with doing corporate banking and corporate finance. So I just wanted a change, in my career. So I just applied, I got the job, and I landed into venture capital. And as you all know, or as you all may know, that VC firms invest in primarily tech companies. And right now, we are in this digital revolution. So I wasn't sure, how I should design my presentation. So maybe some of this material could be a bit, shallow for you all, but just bear with me. It's just to it's really a compilation, of my understanding of the digital industry that's happening in Malaysia and in Southeast Asia, and hopefully, whether as academicians or even future entrepreneurs, you'll be able to understand, what's happening and be able to react accordingly. Okay, so just some pictures for you all to take a look. You all remember this? Maybe you're too young to remember it. Those are maybe slightly older. You remember Kodak, right? You remember movies to rent, Blockbuster? Okay, I remember when I was young, I used to follow, together with my mother, I used to follow a lot of Hong Kong movies. Those who watch Hong Kong movies, then we will rent, this stack of VHS, okay, video cassettes, and then we will follow the series. But we have to rent that, okay? The younger ones, you probably ask, what's this? What's this video cassette? In fact, my daughter even asked me, what's a tape? The tape where you put inside the car, that radio system. So they haven't even seen, what's a cassette. Polaroid, you remember Polaroid? We were so in awe, we were so amazed, right? That when we take a picture and then the picture comes out instantaneously, right? We were so awed by that. And of course, the Toys R Us, it's been around many years. It's still around in Malaysia, but it's closing down in many parts of the world. So this is an example of the fallen giants. All right, companies that you probably think that, hey, there's no way, this company is going to fall. This company, is going to go bust, but it happened. All right, Kodak from 31 billion to 34 million. Blockbuster from US 5 billion, that is back in 2004, to nothing, it's bankrupt. Toys R Us, out of business, 2017, as you all have heard. And Polaroid, 1991, it was 1.3 billion, and now 2001 went bankrupt. All right, so this is really, of course, there are many reasons attributed to it, but it speaks volumes of the digital disruption that's happening and how some of these companies fail to innovate, fail to address the digital challenges that came their way. The acceleration of disruption is definitely, it's undeniable. I think we see it in our eyes, we see it in our hands. I'm sure some of you already, texting. The handphone cannot leave your hands, right? If you leave your handphones at home, you'll turn, right? When you're driving out, you'll turn back and then you'll get your handphone, because the handphone is such a critical piece, of our lives nowadays. Agree? Yeah? So if I were to use a proxy, of digital companies, and I use the example of US. So you have what we call FANG, or of course this what's missing here is Netflix. You have Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google, okay, or Alphabet. That's how they have called their parent company. So in 2018, as a percentage of the total US companies, or value, sorry, as a value, percentage of value, It's 15%, all right? That's in 2018. Now, if we were to do an extrapolation, in 2028, 10 years' time, right, it's going to be 50% of the total market value in US. And in 2038, which is in 20 years' time, it's going to be 85%. Okay? I'm in a VC line and I've seen it happening right in front of my eyes because we do a lot of funding for tech companies. And in the last 2 to 3 months, if you have been following the US markets, there has been multiple companies that have gone for listing. And most of these IPOs were actually tech companies. All right. Of course, you have the outlier, which is Uber and Lyft, which didn't perform as well as everybody expected it to be. But the other tech companies that went on listing, they performed remarkably well. Okay. Even Uber, I'm sure some of you will have received a snapshot. One person invested in 7-8 years ago, 20,000, right? He became a millionaire when that IPO happened. All right. And this is a kind of, you may say it's a crazy valuation, but it's a kind of valuation that the market has accepted it, and the market realized, that these are the companies that's going to dominate dominate industries, in the future. So when you talk about movies nowadays, you don't talk about Blockbuster, right? You talk about Netflix. In fact, it's very interesting, nowadays people hardly watch TV. Do you realize that? I don't know when was the last time you switched on to TV3 or NTV7? Okay. Kids, the generation nowadays, only knows one word, which is Netflix or YouTube. Okay, that's the only, or rather that is the main source of channel that they derive, the movies from or the entertainment from. Okay. Then of course Airbnb. Of course, I'm sure, if I ask show of hands who has stayed in an Airbnb, I'm pretty sure at least half of this room, would put up your hands. So it has disrupted, the hotel industry substantially. Tesla Automotive, in the next few years, and I'm sure Mr. Liu will mention just now, will mention later on, is that autonomous driving, it's going to be one that's going to be a reality, in the near future. And then you have financial services. I was at this week happened to be the tech week, if some of you don't know. And yesterday I was at B&M because it's also the fintech week. And one of the speakers said, gave an illustration. Ant Financial has this asset management company called Yue Biao, okay? And it has asset under management, AUM, of about 300 billion US dollars, okay? And it's even bigger than JP Morgan. It's even bigger than Goldman Sachs, all right? And guess how long Alibaba has been established? Any guess? 50 years? 40 years? Okay, well, he said 16 years. 16 years, okay, for Alibaba to achieve a 300 billion AUM. Okay, that's mind-boggling, that's incredible. And he compared it against JP Morgan, which has been established like for more than 50, 60, 70 years. I don't know, I don't have the exact, but it's definitely much longer than Ant Financial Group. Okay, and this is how the non-financial companies are actually taking over the services of banks. And of course, you have Uber. Okay, not here, but Uber is big elsewhere. We have Kickstarter. Any one of you have used a Kickstarter before, or you all know what a Kickstarter is? Okay, never mind. I'll explain a little bit more when we go into the slide on the digital progress in Malaysia. And Spotify, yes, music. All right. We don't buy DVDs anymore, right? We don't buy of course we don't buy cassettes, right? But so it's Spotify. So it's interesting. So 2 weeks ago I was at Petaling Street, right? And let's say you were there 3 years ago. You see a lot of stores selling DVDs, right? Or CDs, whatever. Now you go to Petaling Street, you don't see any store selling DVDs or CDs because nobody uses CDs anymore. All right, it's Spotify. And zero, you're economists here, okay, but if you're accountants, zero is taking the accounting software space, by storm. All right, zero now is a cloud-based accounting, where you could access your accounting records wherever you are. All right, and I'll talk a little bit more about artificial intelligence later on. Okay, again, to show you the most valuable company over 100 years, you can see that IBM ranks number 1. That was back in 1967. And then if you go 1917, what is that? Okay, I don't know what's that. Okay, never mind. We go 1967. IBM, and you have some oil and gas companies, then you have some motor company. So that's 1967. So between 1917 to 2017, there's 100 years, right? You can see who are the top companies today. All right, you have the Apples, you have the Googles, Microsoft, Amazon, and the Facebook. Okay, and I think it's simple. You think about it. Today, can you all abstain from social media? Okay, I mean, nowadays it's not about do you check your Instagram or do you check your Facebook. It's like how many times, do you get onto your Facebook? How many times you get onto your Instagram, right? Okay, and then nowadays we have seminars like digital detox because people are getting too much, onto their handphones and too much onto their PCs and tablets, all right? But it is so pervasive, the social media, the tools that you use, for your work, it's all going digital. Okay, and you can see that it's reflected, by the progress of these companies. And I'm sure you have seen this infographic as well, where we saw the progress, the decline of some of these companies, right, and the ascent, of the other companies like Apple's, the Googles, Amazons, and the Microsofts. Okay, so Industry 4.0, Mr. Goh alluded to a little bit just now, so I'm not going to say too much. The only thing I want to say is the time taken for this IR 4.0, it's much shorter than what it took for IR 1, IR 2, and IR 3. All right, and this is something that I think all the businessmen entrepreneurs should be wary of, that we cannot afford to be complacent, that we cannot afford to say that it's okay, we have time, give me a year or so. We don't talk about years anymore nowadays. When we do business plan, especially tech companies, when they do business plan, they talk about months because things change so fast. Okay, and you don't talk about waiting, for a year. We wait for a few weeks, and to make it happen. All right, because if you don't make it happen, someone else will. Today, thousands and thousands of startups are being created. All right, I run a fund as well, and easily, in a day, I can get 10 to 20 proposals of startups. Okay, or of not just Malaysia, but in different parts of ASEAN. I get proposals every day, so ideas are being created every day, companies are being created every day, people with talent are being born every day, whether it's from universities or from college days, from their college years. Ideas are coming and revolution is happening faster than ever. So time is definitely not on our side. As I mentioned just now, I'm involved in VC, so I just want to give you an overview of the funds, that have gone into this space. So the VC investment is in Southeast Asia between 2014 to 2017. So you can see that the amount in 2014 was 1.7 billion, right? And in 2017, it increased to 4.8 times to 8 billion. All right. So what does it say? What does it say? That there is a big opportunity, of course, in Southeast Asia region, but the tech companies are the future. So VC funds are investing into tech companies. Are they investing into the traditional companies? Maybe they leave it to the PE firms. Maybe they leave it to the traditional ways of fundraising, like IPO, where profits, are critical. But now VC firms are not looking into profits. I wouldn't say not looking on a short-term basis into the profits, but they're looking into market share. All right, how fast a tech company, could get market share. All right, that's really the main aim of any tech companies, and it's the ability to scale. Okay, because with digital they could scale very fast. Okay, and yesterday also we had a MIA. We facilitated a meeting between MIA, Malaysian Institute of Accountants, and WeBank. WeBank is a digital bank in China. So the VP came down here for that fintech. In fact, he's due to talk in a few minutes' time. So we had a discussion, and the numbers they gave were mind-boggling, because they could process millions of transactions within seconds. Okay, millions of transactions within seconds. So you compare this with the legacy systems in the bank, there's really no competition at all. All right, because the banks take too much time. In fact, that's the call by the governor of Bank Negara as well. When she gave that keynote speech, that the banks need to do something. Because it's being taken over. A lot of their services are being taken over by fintech companies, right? And unicorns in Southeast Asia. So we see some in Southeast Asia, not many, unfortunately, but some. Maybe you're familiar with some of them. Tokopedia, anyone heard of them? Okay, if you're Indonesia, it's big. All right, Indonesia, because of their sheer population, they could achieve scale, very quickly. Gojek, okay, they are coming into Singapore and Vietnam. I've heard rumors that they could be coming to Malaysia, but we don't know. Okay, we'll see. And I'm sure everyone is hoping that Gojek will come right into Malaysia to give Grab a good fight. Grab, of course, we were discussing as well. Why did Grab go to Singapore? Why not Malaysia? And Anthony is a true blue Malaysian, right? It's funding, right? And that's one of the main reasons. They went to Singapore because there was abundance of funding, right? But the Malaysia government realized, that there needs to be more to be done within the startup ecosystem, all right? Bukalapak, this is an e-commerce platform, also Indonesia, and then Traveloka, also Indonesia. So you see a lot of companies, a lot of unicorns are emerging from Indonesia. Okay, but I am confident that one day we will see Malaysia, having many more of such unicorns. Okay, we have some icons. Catcha Group has done really well. You heard of Catcha Group? iProperty. Yeah. Okay. So they have done pretty well in the listing a few companies in Australia. So we will see a few more icons in the coming future. Okay. So this is just a fun fact. Southeast Asia region.
Gentle reminder, 5 minutes.
Okay. Southeast Asia is a region with the most engaged mobile users. Do you realize that? Yeah. But thankfully, it's not Malaysia. That's number one. Number one is actually Philippines. Okay, they spent about number one in terms of time spent. Yeah, daily hours spent on social media, which is 4 hours. Then followed by Thailand, 3.4, and followed by Malaysia, third, 3.2. Okay, so I'm showing this, not to discourage you from using your social media. I'm showing you this because if you're a business, you need to know. This is your channel to reach out to your customers. If you think that social media, this is not for me, this is not my cup of tea, then you're so wrong, all right? This is how people communicate nowadays, okay? Sorry, I got 5 more minutes there. All right, okay, the digital progress in Malaysia, of course, I'm proud, because I was one of the recipients of the ECF, Equity Crowdfunding license. That was back in 2016. Okay, I was one of the recipients, and right now there are 10 ECF licenses, okay, being issued. Then we also have licenses for peer-to-peer. Right now there's 11 peer-to-peer licenses. In fact, SC just issued how many? 5. I think 5 more recently. Robo-advisory, where the asset management, asset allocation is done by machines. So right now there are 2 companies where it's licensed by SC. And recently, SC approved 3 digital assets platform. How many of you have invested in cryptocurrency? Okay, don't show your hands. Probably you are too conservative, right? Okay, so those who have invested, those who use Luno would know, okay? Because you probably invested through Luno. Luno is a very, very famous cryptocurrency exchange platform, they froze their account. Okay, those investors you all would know. Now Luno is licensed, okay, but they will have to adhere to certain guidelines, and then you are now able to trade your cryptocurrency through the 3 platforms, okay, and Luno being one of them. Okay, no, I didn't invest in Luno. I wish I did, okay, but I'm not publicizing on behalf of them, but I'm just telling you because I know most of the Malaysian users actually use Luno. Okay, so if you are a business owner, this is a framework which actually I got from WeBank. This is how they transform their company. It's ABCD basically. It's artificial intelligence, blockchain, big cloud computing, and big data. So in any business, you have to think of these 4 aspects. Okay, of course, you're no experts. You will have to outsource. You have to engage people who are able to help you, in growing these 4 areas. So what's the biggest barrier? We identified, the accountants identified, MIA identified, CPA Australia identified, is the mindset. Getting companies, getting business owners to change their way of doing things. From 20, 30 years ago, trying to change to something more digital, it is very difficult. Okay, it's really not a cost issue because subscribing to accounting software, it is not expensive. So it's not a cost issue, it's a mindset issue. So R&D, we are also formulating plans where we want to connect the universities with the corporates, because we find that a lot of R&D work being done in universities are not relevant, in the business and the commercial world. All right. So we are trying to work with universities to connect back to the corporate. Okay, and in what form the corporate could actually offer a VC fund. We are even toying with the idea of having a crowdfunding platform where the universities, where you will develop certain ideas, right? But you need funding to further develop it or to make it ready for commercialization. We will help you raise those funds. We will facilitate so that more ideas can come up and more unicorns can actually come up from universities. All right. And I personally have dealt with one company. It's called Faytech. This is a German company. It created that idea in a university, and it hired a commercial guy to commercialize it. And in 5 years' time, they built it to such a level, and of course they developed the technology to such a level where they could sell to Facebook, at undisclosed sum. Okay, and this is an example which we want to see more and more, coming out from Malaysian universities. Okay, so companies should transform. I don't paint, everything doom and gloomy, so there are companies, and I listed down 3 pretty big companies. So big companies can transform. Lego did it, GE did it, Samsung did it, I'm sure many other companies did it as well. All right, so if you belong to a big organization and you think that it's going to be hard to transform, think again. There are ways. It's just a willpower and a mindset. All right.
Before I proceed, I'd like to have some interaction with all the audiences. So I need you to participate. Okay? So we are going to get into another session which is more related to our everyday life, which is more interesting. Of course, Brian's speech is very interesting. It enlightens us about big companies, how they become bigger, and how big companies become smaller and eventually vanish. Okay, I will start my speech. I need you to raise your hand. How many of you have heard of MDT Innovations and have not heard of MDT Innovations? Everybody is supposed to raise your hand. You have heard of MDT Innovation? You have not heard of MDT Innovation. So that was the trick. But anyway, nobody responded. I failed. Okay, we will start our speech by introducing MDT Innovation, because none of you, except for those who sat with me last night, heard about MDT Innovation. It is a very low profile company, like Mr. Goh's Silver Lake. You are looking at a company which is the #1 IoT company in Asia Pacific. Okay, we are specializing in IoT embedded engineering. We do crowd management, connectivity with things, NFC. We do the financial snapshot is we were profitable since inception in the year 2014. I will tell you the numbers later. We have exported more than 2 billion ringgit, contributing to MITI. So Mr. Dato Ong Kian Bing was very fond of me last night, if you have seen him. Our current valuation is 100 million. That's 400 million ringgit. And we are one of the most decorated company in Malaysia, having won 9 Asia Pacific ICT awards, 2 times Prime Minister award, one of them in 2007, one of them in 2013, which I will elaborate. We have won ASEAN ICT award. We are the World Information Technology Software Alliance ICT Excellence winner. So that speaks a little bit about the company. Now move to the right thing. Okay, IoT coverage we do from disconnected system to monitoring to remote control to smart system, IoT, big data, AI, and robotics. So those are the coverage. A company with, today we have combined employees of 40 people. We have covered this whole area. How do we do that? I will elaborate later. We have 500 salesmen for us in Australia. But I do not pay a single cent to them. How do we achieve that? Okay, our turnover, we'll go into our company revenue. We started, let's move back 4 years ago. 2015, my company turnover was 108 million ringgit. We have 12 employees then. 2016, our revenue was 150 million. And 2017, our revenue was 219 million. Last year, 2018, audited account just came out. The revenue is 269 million. And this year, I think we will achieve 300 million. How do we do that with such low number of employees? We use third party, we outsource, and we use very strategic partners. Our partners in Australia is called Santina. They serve Coles, Woolworth, and all the big supermarket. They make signboards, they make the shelves and all this. So they are already a supplier to Coles. We sell our RFID system, we sell our software system to Santina, who will eventually sell to Coles. Santina has 500 salesmen working throughout Australia. So I have hired 500 salesmen without paying them. So that's one of the strategy. In China, we do that for China Telecom. We sell to China Telecom. But Malaysian companies are not allowed to sell directly to a telco, to a so-called, not privatized, nation-owned institution. So we are not allowed to sell directly to China Telecom. So what do? We sell to system integrator who will serve China Telecom after sales service. How do they do that? We sell it to them for 30 renminbi. They sell it to China Telecom for 70 renminbi. They make more money than us. They make more margin than us. But how come? They have to drink the white wine. They have to go to karaoke. They have to serve the big officers in the. So we don't have to do that. So our human resource is spent R&D. Actually, my company spent 12 to 15% of our turnover, of our revenue in R&D. R&D is something that is we think it's very important because sustainability of your business depends on your R&D. So let's move on to let you know what our company have really achieved over the years. In the year 2016, IoT Business Platform, a very respected organization, have ranked the top 5 IoT companies in the region. As you can see, number 1 ranking was Microsoft. Number 2 was IBM. Number 3, Google. You know, Google is everywhere, right? IBM has Bluemix. Microsoft has Azure. Those are cloud computing software. Number 4 is MDT. Number 5 is Cisco. You can see, these are all multinationals. One small potato sitting among the top 5. That was 2016. 2018, February 28, CIO Outlook, the American magazine, they have ranked MDT as the top 25 IoT solutions provider in Asia Pacific, and we rank #1. So that was CIO Outlook. So we have a very special write-up. All the winners have got 1-page write-up. We have 4 pages write-up. So we were the #1 IoT company in Asia Pacific 2018. And in August 15, we were given the Frost & Sullivan Best IoT Company in Asia Pacific. This event was held in Shangri-La, Singapore. Razai, my Director of Planning, went to receive the award. So these are the kind of achievement, third-party recognition as #1 IoT company in Asia Pacific. I was Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 technology category. Mr. Goh Ping Wei was the master winner, the Malaysian winner. So he was, there was a few years ago. Okay, this I have to stress. We are the red herring Asia, the most promising Asian companies in emerging technologies in 2008. We went to San Diego to compete for the world's global top 100 private companies in the world. They have red herring Asia, red herring America, and red herring Europe competing. 3 days event, and my COO went there to present our product. And they were asking Malaysia, where? You know, they didn't recognize a small company coming out from Malaysia. And when we won it on January 16, 2008, my COO called me, sir, we won. I said, so what? He said, look, the past winners were the old one, Qualcomm, Yahoo, eBay, Google, YouTube, Twitter. You see, these are all the big guns right now. They were private companies then. They were the red herring global top 100 winners before. And we rank among them. Till today, I think there is the only Malaysian company which has won red herring global top 100 companies in the world. That is MDT. We were Deloitte's fastest growing company in the year 2011, 2019, 2010, 2011. Our growth rate was 3,310%. So our compounded annual growth rate was more than 3,000%. That was very impressive. We won #12 position. #1 was won by a China company. It's called Yihaodian. Their growth rate is 10,010%. But being an ICT company, to be in the foray, we are extremely proud. Deloitte sends out press releases, Malaysian company makes history, because we were ranked #12. All the others were internet company, and one solar, and one online gaming company. We were #12. The next nearest winner in ASEAN country was from Singapore. They were ranked 256. So that was the Deloitte Fast 500. And WITSA, I have mentioned that. ICT, I have mentioned that. APITA, we have mentioned that. One of the things that, if we have time, I will touch on it, but we'll move on. Our vision is to be top #1 IoT company in Asia Pacific. We have achieved that. We want to be the top 5 in the world. Who says a Malaysian company cannot be top 5 in the world? We are very small. We are really very small because we only achieve 300 million ringgit sales. We are very small in the world, but we want to be #1. #1 does not mean your revenue is #1. I can never be #1. I can never be #5. So one of our mission is to be top 5 in the world as most recognized IoT company. Like the previous one, the most recognized company were IBM, Microsoft, Google, Cisco, and MDT. Okay. Now, I want to touch on Industry 4.0. People talk about Industry 4.0, still talking about Industry 4.0, still talking about Industry 4.0. Why? We have done it. We have done, this is this is an example of Freescale. Everybody knows that Freescale was actually Motorola. Freescale took over Motorola, and last year NXP took over Freescale. We did a pilot project in 2013 in the Kuala Lumpur factory. You know, semiconductor room, there are many metals, and RFID signals reflects and is shooting around everywhere. So they tried this German company for 2 years, failed. And one Chinese company proposed a very special RFID, which is antimatter, and it works for a while, and after 3 months, the whole thing collapsed because the signal deteriorate and the RFID didn't work. MDT was called upon to diagnose the system. We found out that they are all using a different RFID frequency. So we have proposed to this Freescale using NFC signal. Using NFC signal, this is a work in progress. For those who are not familiar with semiconductor manufacturing, Freescale has 6,000 metrics, 0.35 micron, 0.12 micron, 0.90 nano, and 45 nano, different kind of wafer size, different ICs. They have locomotive ICs, they have ASICs, they have microcontroller, MCUs, they have MOSFET, all different kinds of semiconductor. The raw material used to make the conductor have to go through different processes. One of the processes is to cure the material in an oven with a temperature of 250 degrees Celsius. So anyway, talk about signal transmission. We make the world's smallest RFID module, which we won the Red Herring Global and the Prime Minister Award in 2007. We slit it under the semiconductor facilities. It is a cut size, business cut size reader. Slit it under. When the raw material passes by, it reads the signal and transmits to the server. So you track the work in progress of the material. And there are 6,000 metrics of products. You have, the process is extremely complicated, and the speed of reading has to be 3 milliseconds per item. So we do this in 2013 POC, proof of concept, for December, 1 whole month. 2014, we received the first purchase order from Freescale. Today is 2019. We have served this institution, this semiconductor company, for the past 5 years without fail. And a project like this can cost easily 500,000 US dollars, right? So that's a couple of million of ringgit. How many Malaysian companies will pay for this? Very few. International company like Freescale, they pay that, and it was a big success. Then they expanded this operation to Tianjin. Tianjin is 60 times bigger than our factory. They have 60 assembly lines compared to our assembly lines in Malaysia. And they use the same thing. And last year, NXP acquired Freescale. NXP is using this system in Thailand, Bangkok, one of the biggest NFC factory. And last month, we got an order from NXP Kaohsiung, southern part of Thailand. So this Industry 4.0 solution designed originally in Malaysia by a company called MDT is being used by NXP, Freescale, and it is a Fortune 500 company. So Industry 4.0 is not something that you think so complicated. It's just automation using robotics or using RFID or using IoT to solve a solutions in a factory. So Brian has touched a little bit on IoT, this IR4, and Mr. Goh has touched on IR4. Different people has different perceptions of IR4. I don't know what is your understanding of IR4. My understanding is Nihon do sureばいいんですか? In the year 2015, when I was in Japan, they were asking, what should Japan do as a nation in Industry 4.0? Nihon do sureばいいんですか? Because Germany has started, China has started. China in Industry 4.0 in China is called 中国制造2025, 2025, China, made in China. They don't call it Industry 4.0, right? So anyway, Industry 4.0, we are doing it. I think we are currently talking to Infineon. Infineon is using our system for the factory. And we are talking to AMD, Inari. We are talking to Intel. Intel wanted manufacturing process of their chip using Industry 4.0. It is extremely difficult. So far, they have used FusionX for data analytics, use MDT for certain these RFID functions. but they have not come out with a feasible solution yet. It is extremely difficult. Our
5
meeting.
minutes.
I have 5 minutes left. Yeah. It's extremely difficult. The MITI has talked to many SMEs. Yesterday, Dr. Ng Kiam Bing said the SMEs are Industry 4.0. You know the people who are doing, rearing the chicken and planting the fruits? You ask them to do Industry 4.0? So MITI came out with a joke. Have you heard of Industry 2.0? If you don't have, you search Google. Malaysia ada Industry 2.0. How special they are. Because they think that SMEs are too far away from Industry 4.0. You search Google, there's Industry 2.0, MITI. That's our initiative. I'm being sarcastic, but it's actually happening. Okay, so Industry 4.0 is already happening. But to be very honest, in Malaysia, only the multinationals can afford that. Our SMEs are far from being able to implement it because it costs a lot of money. Hewlett Packard, they wanted to do their automation of their assembly lines, PCBs. So they want to tag the PCB so that it's tagged very rapidly using RFID. You know, RFID you can read 3,000 items in 1 second, or 1 second in 330 items, because the reading speed is 3 milliseconds per item. So if you divide by 1 second, it's 333 items. And you don't need a line of sight, like this kind of a line of sight, right? So RFID is within the proximity you can be read. So there are a lot of advantage for using RFID. Hewlett Packard wanted to change the assembly line to RFID based. It's so difficult. Until today, we are still working with them on the POC. So Industry 4.0, everybody talks about Industry 4.0, but being a Malaysian, being in Malaysia, I know how difficult it is for our industry to overcome this issue. We do Linotech. Linotech is one kind of, we do hospitals, asset management, real-time asset, trading the clothes, so the linen is a thread. Benang, we use a benang, a thread to be the RFID antenna instead of the copper and aluminum signal. So this is another something very special that we did for hospitals, for asset management, real-time asset management, and for the linens moving in and out. Do you know the linens moving out of hospital, they don't count it, because linens, they are the urine, they are the darah, they are the muntah. So dirty linens, they packed it. They packed it, and then how do they count? It's packed in a red bag. You cannot touch it because of hygiene concerns. So they weigh it, 100 kilograms, satu linen 2 kilogram, or this one 50 kilogram, they record it. One day, MediWest, Redicare, Sediafed, all the millions of, one month they produce 1.2 million cycles. So each day, about hundreds and thousands of linens going out. But how do you count? And balik, after you iron it, you clean it, you count one by one, 1, 2, 3, right? The number never matches. The discrepancy is 30%. Government is losing 30% on subsidies every year. So those 5 consortium gets 10 million ringgit every year from the government. Until 2016, government said, don't have money to pay you, you pay it yourself. Then they came to us for the solution. Because it's extremely important. Do you know that linens are lost? 30% of them are lost. Some of them torn, koyak. Most of them are misplaced. Some stolen, very rarely stolen. Yang paling mustahak tu misplaced. One hospital, the nurse take 50, simpan, take another 50. This one, because they want to have extra linens in their ward. Different wards has different ICU ward, children ward. 2 more slides. Yeah. I will not elaborate on the linen, but if you want to know how linen is being managed by RFID, how we do accurately account for 100% accuracy, we charge them 2 cents per wash rather than charge them one big sum. So we are working on SaaS business model. But anyway, Linotech is one of the invention, one of the 34 IPs, the patents that my company has filed. We own 34 intellectual properties. Malaysia, China, Japan, and Australia. School track, we track the student going into the school, going out of school. Your time has arrived in the school 8:20 a.m. and then your son has left 3 p.m. Son said, I'm going to play basketball, don't bullshit me, you have left the school 3 p.m. So this kind of This is a tracking system. We monitor this. Evelyn is hanging around with Dr. Lau every day, out of 40 hours in the school. So we monitor the children. This happens only in China. Malaysia, Kunchen, ACS, they objected to this because of humanitarian grounds. In China, the communist leader can say, do it, and then they have to do it. We do this through China Telecom. They provide the broadband. We sell the text to them. It has to be 100% accurate. So you monitor the child's progress, the test reports, parents' days, sports days, all events will be recorded and tagged. Your son eat hamburger Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Your son has a diet problem. That kind of things we monitor. These are the flagship applications of MDT. We designed more than 34 solutions and applications. These are the 9 very prominent ones. So maybe we will get into Q&A because usually I speak more than 2 hours, but today they only gave me 15 minutes. These are some of the clients that we have. What I want to share with you is Malaysian do have this kind of company which can go on a global stage. 98% of our sales is export. What does it say? That means Malaysia market is not ready to use this kind of solutions, or there are a lot of red tapes and bureaucracy. Ini tak apalah, tak payah. Because once this system is implemented, the gray area income of the person in charge will be taken away. So there are a lot of different factors that we have to take into consideration. But our company is doing very well overseas. So 98, maybe this year 99% of our turnover of 300 million comes from overseas. And mainly China. I don't care how people hate China or like China, it is still the world's biggest market for us and for many of you. Chinese is still the biggest market because they place one purchase order 500,000, 200,000 tax. We place one RFID tax, satu sekolah 2,000. Aku beli 2,000, you know. Ayo, orang besar, like big guy. In China, 200,000, 300,000 they purchase order just like that. So that's the difference in the market size. Malaysian is comparatively very, very little and small size market compared to the world. But we are in Malaysia. We have to think about how to do it in Malaysia our own way. So I think my time is up, right? So I have eating into Sidek's time. So he has to shorten his speech. And then we have Q&A. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum and Selamat Hari Raya to all. The paper that I will present is actually that's just like the surface of my analysis because that's it's mainly for the others consultation, but I'll just let's say try to make it on the let's say the purpose of the convention, which is the role of the government in the disruption innovation. So the paper will be let's say cover on the let's say 3 area, which is on the let's say theoretical framework of the let's say disruption innovations, role of government. But on the part 3, if on the let's say the case study of the numbers of the let's say country in the Southeast Asia and also that's in the US, will be let's carried during the Q&A session during the discussions. So I will start on the let's say the theoretical framework. So this is the 2 scenario of the market landscape where there's most of the company, most of the let's say the industry have been faced on the red ocean issue, where there's the untapped market, the market that's in the future is will be let's say labeled as a blue ocean market. So that's on the current market universe, that's the only way that's for more of the company to improve is via the competitive advantage, which is via the value innovations. I'm not going to let's touch on the let's competitive advantage as a whole, but more focus on the let's business innovation on the let's business strategy, and also that's innovation in the business innovation. It's on the let's say the what we call this on the let's the business model of the disruption innovation. And on the part 2 is a more focus on the let's policy mismatch. I have a 4th type of the let's policy mismatch, which is use the sample of the let's current startup and current disruptor. So that's for for the company who are form up on the blue ocean strategy, most of the time they will look on the competitive advantage by the blue ocean strategy. And yes, that's a Peter Drucker have been mentioned that nobody want to buy what you sell, but they will buy the value of the item to them. I mean, that's what is your value added to the consumer. So they have a three type of the I mean, that's the market segment that you need to look, which is the consumer needs, competitor needs, and also that's a company offer. But most of the company have been stuck in the middle, which is the parity, where that's the competitive disadvantage is where that's you unable to fulfill the needs of the consumer. So the business innovation process is the purpose of the creation of the substantial a new value for the customer and the company by creatively changing one or the more dimensional of the business system. So they have about 5 process where it starts with the business strategy, and then the system operation, management operation, information system, and also that's a business innovation. And the main ultimate goal for this business innovation process is to rejuvenate the business in terms of the creating a new value, productivity, and also the boosting a growth. So it's actually the innovation in the business innovation is already growing. It's been start in the 1934 where they have about 9 process on the business innovation where they start with the recognition, idea generation, idea selection, concept development, concept test, development, test, production launch, and also controlling. And I'm the design thinking practitioner, where we look on the how to solve the problem with the very low cost prototype. Where during this innovation process, there's a number of the innovation tools have been introduced by the numbers of the researcher, and not just the researcher, but also the think tank. So they have a start with the hackathon. But if you see here on the hackathon, it's only covered on the recognition until to the concept test. While the design thinking will be cover on the recognition up to the concept test. This startup is only covered on the concept development, and the Kanban is a cover for the rest of the the process. But the Kanban is quite costly for the company to apply, and the Scrum is more on the in the process development. So they have some of the innovation metric, and the reason why I need to explain on this kind of the business innovation, and also that's business what you call that the innovation metric is the what I can say that's the initial they are the initiation of the disruption innovation. And when we look on the innovation metrics, we have the problem. It needs to be defined. We know that this is the problem, and what is the capacity of the company to solve the problem. So they have a 4 metrics that have been introduced, which is start with the basic research, and then there's more to the if let's say you really clear know about the problem, but you're not really sure on the how the capacity of the capability of the company. If we go through on the breakthrough innovation and move to the sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation. So the main focus of this today paper is we will focus on the sustaining innovation, and also there's a disruptive innovation, and followed by what is the government role in the supporting of the disruptive innovation. And I believe it's a quite a well-known chart for everyone. So I just skip. This is the red line is what is the firm framework, firm progress, and the grey one is what is the customer expectation. And most of the company have been focus on the first incumbent. This is the incumbent firm, which is whatever that's the firm who are in the industry, who are focused on the growth. They will focus on the what we call it the high end product, and also that's the certain market segment, but they forgot about the majority of the market segment. So that's why it will be give the opportunity to the another company to try to solve the problem, and also share their product and services. So there's move to the this is how I engage on the how the role of the government have been need to come into place. And this is under the Clay Christensen, where there's he have been link on the disruptive innovation in the healthcare sector, where there's why the healthcare sector at the first place. as we know, that the healthcare sector is involved of the three area, which is overlapping between that's the number of the regulator, and it's also let's say involved of the number of the supply chain, and also that's in terms of the let's say the costing is a slightly one of the let's say the most expensive sector in the each of the country. So that's the element in the disruptive innovation. That's the purpose for the disruptive innovation is to make a technology more simplified and low cost innovative business models, and also that's an economical coherent value network. However, these three elements is need to be like support by the role of the government in the supporting disruptive innovation, but via the standard, and also that's facilitate the change. So that's this is one of the sample in the Malaysia landscape where that's for the My Taxi, where that's it's actually that's give a very benefit to the drivers, and also that's the what we call that's the passenger. However, due to the the mismatch of the policy, and also that's later I will talk about the role of the government in the risk management, where that's the government is need to protect of the consumer what we call that's consumer rights, where that's to put the some of the the element of the control the price competition and also price monopoly on their service. So the number of the literature is about 32 articles have been published talk about the role of government. However, it's only 5 articles have been cover purely on the role of government in the disruptive innovation. And all these 5, none of the articles have been covered on the Southeast Asia or developing market. It's only more on the developed country, mainly in the North America, and also that's in the Europe. So I move to the second part of my presentation, which is the role of government. The main thing that we need to know that I bring the 4 type of the role of government, where there's the regulatory bodies, innovation enabler, risk management, and also public service producer. And in the regulatory bodies, the issue that we find is some of the country, what I can say is Malaysia, we have a very fixed policy. It's a bit tough to change, and because it's no experience by the previous market, and no demand this kind of thing. So that's we are comfortable on the this particular policy. And another country, another region of the country, they have a flexible policy. And I will touch about the flexible policy at the first place. That is I will continue on the fixed policy. And on the the flexible policy is most of the time they try to relax some of the regulation within a set of the parameter, while maintaining regulatory objective. This is what have been applied in the Singapore, where there's a Malaysia where there's a monetary authority where Singapore have been put some of the I mean that's a not put I mean that's the try to I mean that's make the some of the exemption on the regulatory whichever that's is not too sensitive for the market. It can be just a proceed. And compared to the other countries, this is mainly is to allow the firm to innovate, as well as the help firm to consistently develop the current model and benefit the end user. But the main issue is the fixed policy. So the fixed policy, it will be effect on the policy disruption. And this is the 4 type of the policy disruption I would like to share. And the first one is on the end run. Second one is the exemptions. And then that's the third one is the gaps, and also that's the what we call that's the 4th one is on the solution. On the end run, this is one of the example. It's on the Uber. Later I will share you is why is the Uber is under the end run, and why is the Airbnb is under exemption, and why Google X is under the gaps, and why is the solution, why the Tesla is under the solution. For the first one on the end run, the business innovation happen with the similarity of the existing business model, which is the taxi. I mean, that's I just let's link it in Malaysia, which is a taxi industry, and it's accused that its technology or business model innovation make a sufficient distinct so as to not to be subject to the costly regulations, tax, or other instrument of the policy regime governing the incumbent industry. And on the exemption, occur when it's clear that the business innovation fits an explicit exception in the existing policy regime and is not subject to the regulation, tax, or other constraint, but is creating or exacerbating a condition of policy regime was intended to control or mitigate. And the gap is occur when there's a business innovation is totally new, is no policy regime exists, or for which applying existing regime will require a novel and autonomous application of the regime statutory and also that's regulatory authorities. And on the solution is a provide more on the benefit to the company and also that's a benefit to the society. However, that's some of the regulatory measure is need to be taken in place to protect on the consumer needs. So this is the policy mismatch and also the legal question. I will go through one by one. On the first is on the end run, the innovator challenges application of the existing regulatory regime by pointing to the business model distinctions between it and incumbent firm. They've come up with a new business model, which is use the technology and etc. And it's the scenario is that the innovator present many of the same social harm that lead to the regulation of the incumbent industry. People have been questioning why my taxi is not used. I mean the driver is not go for the the license, the special license, and etc. Why the taxi is need to go or all these things. So the question that's on the legal question that I want to bring it is how possible is the existing regulatory regime does not apply? If it's possible that it does apply, how should regulator react? And on the exemption, which is the I'm referred to the what we call it the Airbnb, the innovator clearly fits an exemption, waiver or other form of the relief from the existing regulatory regime not available to the incumbent firms. And the scale of the innovator use of the exemption present social harm not anticipated when the exempted was included in the existing regulatory regime. And the main question that we need to ask, that's among the policymaker is should the exemption be closed, or if so, how? And how would the action and the actor originally deemed eligible for the relief of the to be the differentiate, and should they be? And on the gap is the innovator threatened incumbent firm but not existing regulatory regime cover its the technology or business model. This will be bring on the how that's the current platform use the data analytics to do the marketing, and neither the effect on the incumbent firm nor the possible social harms of the unregulated innovator activity are being managed. The question that we need to ask is a new regulatory regime needed? How would it be designed, and would it be grafted onto the existing regulatory regime or separate regulatory action? And the last is on the solution. The innovator face the barriers under the existing regulatory regime but present superior social welfare outcome compared to the incumbent firm. The existing regulatory regime impeding a business model or the technology leading to the superior social welfare outcome. And the question that is need to be asked is should the regime be reformed to regulate incumbent firm more aggressively or to open the way to the innovations, and if so, how the government need to do. So that's the first role of the government on the regulatory, and the second role of government is on the risk management, which is the disruptive innovation bring the labor market, and also that's the privacy issue. And when we talk about the privacy issue, it's also include the consumer protection. So that's it's no, I mean, it's already proven that the disruptive innovation is required the adjustment in the labor market. And what we see, what is one of the sample that I would like to bring is how the Denmark have been bring on the flexi security, which is a flexible job security to the what we call it, the employee. They offer the employee the flexibility on the learning the new thing. The same thing done in the Singapore on the approach under the investment rate. Industry Revolution 4.0, where there's an investor holding the technology, company encouraged to adopt the technology, and workforce is equipped with the optimal level of the skill required. So it's a three different role by three different what we call it, the party. And the privacy issue, I believe we have been well known about the privacy issue in the disruptive innovation, where that's for example the drones issue is even though it's not been applied yet in Malaysia, but it's in the North America, it's already applied, where that's the government regulatory framework is need to be constantly update at the same pace with the advancement in the digital technology. And government as the enabler is how to empower the technology change in the in their operation, where they are provide the infrastructure, and also there's a consultant, and also there's a financial incentive to the new firm, the new startup. So that's the last one.
Okay.
Because it's a 15 minutes. So that's the government as the public service producer. We know that's the one of the role under the one of the role of the government is need to provide a public service. So that's what we want to bring here is how efficient the public service have been delivered to the consumer, to the public. So one of the the solution that we have been provide is to encourage the community to take part on the on the managing the public service, but not on the managing on the you need to A to Z or 8 to 5 on the control of the public service, but involved in the how the public service framework. So that's the community in the era of the globalization. In the nowadays, they are more understand the issue of the domestic in their area, instead of the people in the Putrajaya to do the policy, to do the services for them. So this is what we propose, where they redesign the system to enable the community to take more active role for the public service. So this is okay. I skip on the the Nordic healthcare sector because this is some of the case study. With that, I'm done my presentation.
We have 25 minutes of Q&A. I'm suggesting that we combine the sessions of our discussion and questions from the chair, as well as questions from the floor. So as and when you have a question, please raise your hand. And I'm going to start the ball rolling by asking the panel, given the speed of the innovations and the disruption that we are seeing, is the Malaysian education system well prepared to produce the types of technology and knowledge workers we need to innovate in the next century? Anyone?
The question is the Malaysian education system prepares the students to be industry ready? So I have rephrased the question. In a way, yes or no. If you are talking about embedded engineering, there's zero. You can't get an embedded engineer from MU, from UM, from US. You cannot get an embedded engineers qualified to do the RFID micro-programming of what we are doing. You have to go hire from Freescale, Intel, AMD. You have to go headhunting somebody. Whereas in Taiwan, you can get such engineers across everywhere. So that is the kind of problem we have. But if you are talking about social media type of apps, We hire 4 interns from KDU. They write very excellent programs, very good apps. So how do I answer the question? It's yes and no, depending on the kind of job scope and the functionality. We are talking about microelectronics, you are talking about IC designs, you are talking about embedded engineering. We lack this kind of facilities and education curriculum. If you are talking about newer technologies, we do have that kind of students around. So that's my question, right?
I can't comment on your industry, but I could comment on the accounting. The accounting space, because that's something that I alluded to just now, that there's a disconnect between the corporate and the universities. All right, so universities graduate and then they come up with certain skills into the market, and some of these skills are no longer relevant in the market. It can be used, but it's not relevant because some of these skills are being taken over by machines. All right, and just now I didn't have time. There are already companies that's already doing accounting, or rather using machines to do accounting. Okay, so you don't need a person to do data entry. You don't even need a person to do the accounting entries. All right, the machine can do it, because all you need to do is a person to snap pictures of the invoices or the purchase orders or those documents, upload it onto the cloud, and the machines will do the rest. And it just takes a few seconds. All right, maybe for the first few times, a person needs to guide the machine because the machine needs to learn, right? But after 10, 20, 50 times, the machines can do it much faster. So we are talking about data analytics right now, which I know some universities are already introducing those kind of courses, analytics. You're talking data scientists now, because there's a big demand for data scientists. How do you analyze data? How do you make sense of data? Just now I spoke about big data, right? It's about data, because data is the new oil. That's what they say, right? Data will put you in front, of a lot of your competitors, because with data you could actually do a lot of prediction as well. You'll be able to know who your customers are and how you're going to push your product and services to and how, right?
I think there's we need to look on the business model of the education providers. But I'm not sure how many of us have been heard about the we heard about the iFlix, but do you guys heard about the SPM Flix? This is one of the platform have been introduced by the BSC, because I'm one of the business consultant do the the analysis of the MOC, which is a massive open online courses where in Malaysia is still the number of the penetration is not so high. But we talk about the Coursera, we talk about the HBS online, we talk about the EDX by the MIT. So this is the numbers of the MOOC. However, this only touch on the alternative education or continuing education, executive education. It's not on the the delivering the course for the degree, master or the PhD. It's more on the how to you want to improve if for the executive who want to climb for the top management. This kind of the executive education. Instead, for example, they have this kind of the online. So I can say that in Malaysia, it's already the start, but in terms of the change, it's not effect so much on the current education system. It's only the effect on the what we call it the third party education provider or the training provider. The training provider in Malaysia, A company have been provide to the C company, but now on the 2016, DG itself have been subscribe for the Coursera and request all the their employees to enroll for the Coursera. And under the the e-learning on the HR, that's the DG have been not just focus on the Coursera, they also use the lynda.com, which is a LinkedIn learning nowadays, and then there's a Udacity for the hard skill solution for their employees. So I can say that it's more on the disrupt on the training provider, but not on the the university.
Yeah, while you think of your questions, I would like to add on what Brian has just said about universities and industry collaboration. We are collaborating with MU with some RFID IoT solutions. My company has sponsored Utah. We paid them hundreds of thousands of ringgit to form the best student project. We put a huge sum of money in the account. The interest generated will give the award to the top student. And we have formed an IoT lab next to Huawei lab in Utah, Sungai Long campus. We are currently working with TAR, UC, another TAR college, Starbucks, on the curriculums, IoT and RFID as part of their syllabus. So we are doing that. We collaborate with Dr. Lim of Utah for CREST Fund, 1.5 million, to do this called anechoic chambers. Malaysia people don't measure magnetics, so we do this anechoic chambers and RFID design, the antenna design simulation, millions of simulation. So we are doing that for some universities. We are working with USIM to do the people tracking mechanism. We are working with yesterday's Madam Khoo mentioned about University Pertahanan Malaysia. Some comment was made about these universities. They are actually into cybersecurity. They are into some of the things that ordinary people don't get involved. Our company sponsor them for cybersecurity research and funding. So a lot of companies we are just one small example. I think many companies are doing this, but maybe not in the accounting and the fintech area. Maybe you should lead this and create some kind of initiative. Yeah. Karen?
Great. Got a question there from the back.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Lee from Sunway University. So I am from the industry that the speakers have been referring to a lot. Actually, mine could actually be a comment or a question. You can take it either way. So I'm just curious as to why for industries and also even universities, when it comes to conversations about skills and learning and knowledge, that we are always very focused on very tool-based skills, basically skills that have very immediate sort of applications, like, basically you can land running. But I'm just wondering why there's not much discussion when it comes to, for instance, teaching first principle knowledge or teaching fundamental knowledge, the kind of knowledge that actually would help level up the skills. Because when we think about developed countries as well as countries that's most successful in innovation, a lot of the early pioneers in those fields didn't come in, knowing how to use a specific software or knowing how to do a specific engineering, drafting, or whatever technical skill that is necessary, but they actually came in bringing the kind of knowledge that they have that may appear fundamental, theoretical, maybe completely irrelevant to industry, and then translating it to industry. It's not just filling gaps. It's actually starting entire new sectors, new industry, and that's basically what Industry 4.0 should be about. And Industry 4.0 actually is not a reason thing. For industrialists, probably it's reason, but for academics and for someone like me who actually been tracking the history of science and technology, the ideas for Industry 4.0 actually went all the way back to after the Second World War. It's just that at that point in time, of course, there were other priorities and there were other focus. And of course, technology hasn't yet caught up with first principle knowledge and fundamental knowledge. I would say pioneers in those fields actually, most of them already have passed away. And a lot of them have already incepted those ideas in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, around the same time when the computing revolution and ARPANET and internet actually came to place. So I'm just worried that if we are very focused just on skills, that we can commercialize or monetize within 5 years, we'll always be playing catching up. We'll always be the ones that, although we may become big players in the industry, but we will never be the ones to start anything. We're always just coming in probably somewhere in the middle, or if you're lucky, or even for now, I think for a lot of industries in Malaysia, the inability to even leverage on what is happening or may actually suggest that they might even come in at the tail end. So I think this is something that we actually should think about. This anxiety and this continuous focus just on ready-made skills, or what I say, ready-to-wear skills or ready-to-wear knowledge, I think itself would do a disservice to our nation. Thank you.
Basic skills in terms of the ability to think critically. I must confess, over years, this has deteriorated. Yes, you may have the language skills. You may even be able to solve the math problems. But this is just anecdotal. I don't have any studies to back me. But with the nods that I'm getting from at least this side and I think this side as well, that critical thinking skills have somehow or other deteriorated over time.
We didn't answer the question.
Sure, please. Go ahead.
I think your point is very solid principles. You have to have the basic knowledge. You have to know what is 1 + 1 = 3, right? You have to know sigma equal to 1F sigma, right? Those are supposed to be trivial. You are supposed to have this when you finish your education. So what we talk about industry collaboration and being ready for the work, it is something extra, the extra mile the student have to walk. Our education system has prepared those basic things. They are supposed to have it by the time they graduate. So your point is well taken, but we want to move one step ahead. So we are actually collaborating with many universities, trying to get them industry ready. So maybe there's a slight gap in between. I hope that clarifies your question. Thank you.
Sir, your question.
Thank you. My name is Mario from UM. I have my point of view about this one because we need to analyze the education system of Malaysia from small age until the old age. What we are doing in the schools, memorizing. Use memory. What we're trying to build in schools, we have robots memorizing, and everybody fighting for the famous A or be the first in the class. This is the reality. But we don't have creativity. We have robots. If we like to change the education system, we need to change from the beginning, kindergartens, elementary schools, and high schools. What you are not doing. This is my point of view, like foreign. Second one, universities, we are not producing research. We are producing simple documents, and nobody is doing pure research and development. This is I want to be honest with everyone. And third one, if we like to change Malaysia, we need to change first us and universities to produce good quality of research and original research. What we are doing is copy and paste from Americans, change a little bit, and wow, I publish in the journal. This is the reality. But nobody is contributing with nothing new in journals. Regression, econometrics. If I don't have econometrics in the paper, I'm no economist. And we have long journey, and I think Malaysians need to change mentality and trying to see more far away and not repeat what the things. And the funny thing is, when somebody produces something new in Malaysia, nobody respect or everybody locked down. But if one American or one European stop in front of that, it's a goal. Wow, amazing guy. This is Asians. We respect overseas knowledge, but you don't respect your knowledge. This is my point of view. Thank you so much. And I expect some nice answer from you.
Thank you. I'd like to respond.
I have two. I mean, Mario having give about 4 questions, but only can do on the 2 questions. On the primary schools. I mean, the learning experience is no longer. Apply. Focus as why parents have been sent to their kids to the school, because the Asian, because when we talk about the developing country, we're not in the very luxury to get the what we want, to get the if let's say you want to go for the the good university, or you want to be employed by a big company, you need to have a good result, and the result is only based on the exam. It's no others measurement, and it's referring to the third question on the university KPIs, the assessments and the research. I can say that I'm not answering on the view of the university. I'm answering on the in the general industry, where how the company measure the employee KPIs. this is a question that we need to bring it to the numbers of the industry. For myself, that's within the financial institution where we have been discussed. The KPI is not just because of the number of the sales that you have been produced, the number of the the portfolio that you hold. It's more on the it needs to be agile. It needs to be numbers of the variables, and it needs to be balance. Meaning to say that if let's say you look on the the performance based on the the sales, it needs to be 50%, but another 50% is need to be more on the the soft skill or development of yourself. So this is what I mean do. Is actually this kind of the answer I would like to address more on the company need to look more on the if let's say you want the commitment of the employee, you need to look on the what kind of the variable that you use to reward your employee. This actually my master dissertation where do my master last year. Now it's been extended for the Harvard Business School. So what I'm seeing here is the assessment of the organization is really require how the company, how the employer do the assessment. This is need to be transparent. This is need to be more agile. If let's say that nowadays people have published the article as the main priority, you need to put some of the what you call it the suggestion on the what kind of the area that you need to focus and etc. I can't answer on the the university, but I can answer on the the financial institution. So each industry they have their own practice. So the main thing is on the assessment.
Okay, thank you very much. We are running out of time. It's about 12:30 now. Do you have maybe one more question? Otherwise, we can actually adjourn for lunch.
Hi, panel. Thanks for the really insightful presentation. I just got two questions, a short one. Maybe Mr. Liu, thanks for your presentation earlier in your company history. It's very impressive. Just wanted to know what was your secret to your personal success and your company's success, and how do you see that being replicated in Malaysia? How do you basically create more of you in this country? That's one. And the second thing is on the education system in Malaysia, because I come from a background of self-taught programming and taught myself to code and all that. I'm a strong believer in no teachers and basically learning your own passion. Do you see that as the way forward, or do you still see, or do you see a blend where 1 year university, 3 years industrial training like Germany style, right? That's my question. And last one is this, sorry, do innovations happen in big established companies, or do innovations happen in small startups from the ground up? Thanks.
There's three questions.
Yeah, three questions.
First question about a company being able to achieve what we have achieved. R&D, continuous R&D. I came from Panasonic. I was a general manager in Panasonic. I quit Panasonic and formed this company. And we spend 12 to 15% of our revenue on R&D. We make this kind of RFID using strings. We make button RFID. We spend already 164 million in R&D from foundation of the company in 2004 until today. So accumulated 164 million ringgit in R&D. And to be able to achieve the kind of level that we are, you can't do things on your own. For example, we did one project in a smart boiler, hot water, hot boiler, right? We put a smart panel there in Thailand. So the engineers don't have to go near with hot water and pressure, very dangerous, right? You can remotely control, you can remotely see the results of the water, the results of the temperature, the results of the pressure, and we charge them $25 per boiler. $25 per month. Very cheap, right? They have 3,000 boilers. So we make $75,000 per month. US dollars. Multiplied by 4. So that is how we grow. So that's one example. The other two questions you guys want to take? Yeah?
I'll take the third question. It's actually very difficult for a very large and successful company to innovate and to destroy the very revenue base that they have. If you need to look at this literature, then I mentioned Clay Christensen, right? The Innovator's Dilemma and subsequent books that he wrote. My feeling is that as the fourth generation industrial revolution goes on, more and more innovation is taking place at smaller companies. Then they will either get acquired or they themselves grow quite big. But I'm going to leave Brian to get another response to that. It is not impossible, however, to have innovation taking place in a big company. Now notice that IBM started with mainframes, but they also succeeded with minis, they also succeeded with PCs until they sold it to Lenovo. And the trick is to separate it from the main culture of the company. So every time they do a new product focus, they put it in a different location, put different people in charge, put different accounting metrics, and evolve a different culture. The culture for a big company is to sustain and maintain. For an innovative company, the problem is to solve the immediate problem right then and now. Right? So it's a very different set of cultures.
Yeah, I'm going to give you one example about innovation. This is a RFID module, the green one. This is how large it was, right? In 2017, you see the printed circuit board, this big printed circuit board, right? We have shrunk it to, I need a zoom in. This is a running, working RFID module, the world's smallest. We benchmark against Skytech and ACG, American and Germany. We were 15 times smaller than the nearest competitor. And it transmits signal with 6 milliampere of current when RFID signal is transmitted. And there is no transistors and receiver in here. So we write an algorithm into the microcontroller to make it behave like RFID chip. So that's a Malaysian company inventing this. So smaller company can do wonders also. Answer your question.
Okay, so just to add on your question about big companies, yes, a lot of big companies right now realize there's a need to set up innovation labs. And exactly what Dato mentioned just now about separating it from the main organization, because they do not want the innovation labs to be bogged down by old policies, old decision-making structure. Encik Farid, CEO of Maybank, he gave example yesterday that he created a team and he asked the team, okay, the objective I want you to achieve is how do you create a system where this group of people will no longer be needed. So you see, if you have this team inside the organization, you can be sure they are not going to get enough support, right? Because I'm going to lose my job, right? Why should I be cooperating with you? So it has to be separated. So Maybank, RHB, the banks are all doing it. Nestle is doing it as well because they know that Nestle is huge, right? But they need to innovate as well. FMCG, mind-boggling, right? FMCG. But yes, they need to innovate their products to appeal, to the new generation. Singtel is doing it as well. Singtel has actually incubated a few companies and they eventually sold those companies to even bigger companies. So innovation is happening, and corporate, this is also another term what we say corporate VC, because the big guys are creating a fund and they are investing in startups. That's why it's called corporate VC. And why startups are interested to join this is because they have a ready ecosystem. They have a ready infrastructure for startups to just tap on them. Okay, as opposed to just being a startup and you are going company to company begging for their ecosystem, to plug into the ecosystem. So that's a lot more difficult. It's not impossible, but it's a lot more difficult.
Thank you very much, panel speakers. We had a very interesting talk this morning, but time constraints, we have to actually stop. But before we end this session, could the speakers stay on the stage, because we have a token of appreciation for each of you, which will be given by Tan Sri Dato' Hairul Anwar Abdullah.